Hey guys, Kenzie here. Welcome to the Team Sizzle. Grab your notepad, go grab a drink, go grab your spouse, because Joyce Day is about to rock the house and teach you how to get out of the madness and enjoy your life. Joyce, enlighten us.
Wow, what an intro. You sound like you have you been a disc jockey or something? That was amazing.
You never know.
You can intro me anytime.
Okay.
Love it. Okay. Hi everybody. I am Joyce and I'm super excited. This was such a nice surprise, Kenzie. So thanks for asking me. It'll be fun to reminisce back to the days when I had a job and had to work and stuff. So for those of you that are still in the grind and having to go to work every day, gosh, my heart just goes out to you. It's no fun. And I understand the quiet desperation of wanting to change and get out of a job situation. So I hope what I have to say tonight is helpful for you guys. So I think I'll just start a little bit with my story and tell you kind of what happened. And then I'll go into some specific suggestions and advice, and you guys can feel free to ask questions as much as you want to. Does that sound okay? Yeah? Okay, so I was working as a hydrogeologist at I studied groundwater flow and contamination. I worked for a landfill company and was monitoring for contamination under landfills. Now, I loved my job. I really did. It was fantastic. I got to travel a little bit, not crazy travel, but I did get to travel and take little road trips. I worked outside some days and inside some days, and I wrote technical reports and got to do geologic cross sections. I was a total nerd about all of it. I loved it. It took me a long time to get where I was. I was really proud of myself for where I was in career. I was a senior hydrogeologist. I was making a great salary for Central Illinois, and I loved it. I loved what I was doing. I've always been an environmentalist, and I just felt like I was doing good in the world. But then I had a baby in 2012, and that kind of changed everything, as you guys know. And so I've always been a really driven person. I've been working since I was really young. I've lived on my own since I was really young. I'm a driven type of person. And so I really created a problem for myself because I was doing the work of basically two people. I was extremely productive. I worked a lot of hours. I asked them for a laptop so that, I could work at home and on weekends and stuff. Because who wants to just work at your office when you could also work on the weekends and everything? It's just how I was. And then I got pregnant. I was super sick practically the whole pregnancy. And then I had a baby, and she didn't sleep through the night, which means I didn't sleep through the night. And now I had this job, this huge responsibility that I couldn't screw it up. If I mess up, people could go to jail. People are signing off on my reports that if I mess that up, they could literally be prosecuted. So it was a big deal. It was a tremendous amount of pressure. And I went from loving that job and being totally into it and passionate about it to not getting enough sleep, completely drowning in work. And then I had my baby and I have two older stepkids that were in junior high at the time, and a husband and family and everything else to juggle. And so I was already into natural stuff, but I was actually a huge skeptic about oils, really eye roll kind of a thing when people talked about it. I had 6 or 7 oils from the health food store, but they were all Now brand mostly, and I didn't like them. I used them for craft projects. I pretty much pulled them out at Christmas, and that was it. So just to give you a mindset of where I was and what was going on, even though I did a ton of natural stuff, I'd actually started a blog hoping to inspire family and friends to go more natural at home. I knew that was important. It was called Grow Your Green Family back then. Actually, it was under a homemade website name that I'm not going to tell you the name of because it doesn't exist anymore, but it was a homemade blog, and I was trying to teach people about going natural at home. But I didn't use oils. It was all vinegar and baking soda and stuff like that. And I was kind of embarrassed because secretly I didn't love what I was doing. It worked, and I knew that it was awesome to be getting away from the chemicals, but I knew that my friends and family were not going to probably try a lot of this stuff. And I remember thinking how am I ever going to make an impact and inspire people to go natural when I am not in love with cleaning my bathtub with baking soda and vinegar. Like, normal people are not going to like go for this. And I knew that, but I didn't know what the answer was. So I was just blogging for fun. It was literally just family and friends. And that was that time. And then, I made it till the next summer. Ella was probably about 16 months old. She was born in March. This was the summer of the next year. And I was at a breaking point. I remember it felt like, you guys know when you've been moving all day long and you're really tired and like you're carrying boxes that are too big for you and you're like, they're out in front of you and they're bulky and your arms are shaking and you just feel like any minute your arms are going to give out and everything's going to fall to the floor. You like barely make it to the moving truck and drop the box. And you're just like, oh my God. That's what I felt like all the time. I was like, something is going to crash and burn at any moment. So I was actually praying. I was on my knees praying for a way out of my job. That at that point, I was having dreams about us selling our house that we had just bought 2 years before. There was no way we could sell it. I was considering, could I become a substitute teacher? But I wouldn't make any real money. We had built our lives around 2 professional incomes. So we just bought this big house. We had a new car. We had kids and extracurricular activities and all these things. And I'm like freaking out, running around, yelling at everybody, turn the lights off. And like, how can we minimize our bills? And we couldn't touch it. We couldn't reduce our bills enough for me to even consider going part-time, let alone quit my job. So this was my frame of mind privately. Nobody knew this. You know, in the public world, I loved my job. I was doing the best I could. I was really involved in the groundwater association and the groundwater community and all this stuff. And then in November, Lynn Fingerhut, who may or may not be on the call, she's my upline. We met one time when Ella was, right after Ella was born. I went to one baby thing. I only got 6 weeks of maternity leave, and they took my vacation time from me when I had her, and I had her in March. So I went back to my corporate job with this incredible workload with no sick days and no vacation for the rest of the year, and a baby that didn't sleep through the night. So I was in hell. And so, I mean, I was blissful. I loved my daughter, but I breastfed and the whole shebang the whole time. It was nuts. I don't know how I survived it. And I didn't have LLV, you guys. No oils. No oils. I know. It's a terrible story. So Lynn, I met her for one time at this baby function while I was on maternity leave. And then I went back to work and I never spoke to any of those women again. I never went to any mother stuff. I didn't have any time to go to mommy play dates, or I didn't have any friends that had babies except this gal across the street. And the only reason we were able to connect is because she was across the street. So Lynn invited me but Lynn was super into crunchy, like healthy, natural stuff at the mommy thing. And I knew that. So we friended on Facebook, and I always watched her posts and things because she posted about stuff that I was interested in. And so November comes. It was the day there was tornadoes here in central Illinois. I blew through my hometown and a couple of other towns in the area. So we're getting reports on the tornadoes at Lynn's oil party. And I didn't even want to go. I was literally on the phone with my sister. She's a massage therapist. She's like, Joyce, they're going to try to get you to buy stuff. She's like, if you want oils, I can get it for you on my wholesale website. Like, you don't need to go to an oils party. And I was like, I know, but I'm not going to buy anything. I just want to go hang out with these other moms. I never get to do mom stuff, so I'm going to go hang out with these other moms. I just needed it. It was a total God thing. I didn't have anything to do that day. It was a Sunday afternoon and I didn't have anything to do. So I went. Anyway, you guys can imagine what happened. I really got intrigued by the oils. My little science brain kicked in and I was like, wait a second here. And I knew they were different because I could smell the difference. And so I got a kit, and then secretly Tracy Kennebeck taught the class. She was in Diamond Club, and she said, I don't know what she said exactly. I just know she taught the class. They passed a bunch of oils. There were snacks. And at the end, Tracy said, oh, by the way, there's a business opportunity. If you guys want to hang out for a few minutes afterwards, I'll tell you guys about it. So I just sort of lurked, like I was still looking at the kits because I wasn't going to admit that I was actually interested in the business, but I hung out and I listened. And then I was like, that's really, really interesting. But I didn't know if I believed in the oils yet. So I took them home and I tested them out on my coworkers for about 2 months. I took them to work every day. And anytime anybody was like, oh, my stomach hurts, or oh, this, or oh, that, I'd be like, hold on. I had one of those little A to Z guides, and I would flip in there and look up what to do, or I'd look it up on my phone, and then I'd be like, all right, hold out your hand. And I carried the 9 of the 10 oils. I didn't carry oregano because I didn't like that one, and it was too strong anyway. So I left it at home, but all the others fit perfectly in this little Tupperware, this little square plastic Tupperware was the Family Essentials kit. And so I took it back and forth to work with me every day, and I put oils on everybody, and I'd be like, all right, check that out. Come back in 20 minutes and tell me what you think. And that's how I convinced myself that the oils were legitimate. I did science experiments on my coworkers, because I did a little bit with my daughter. She did have health problems and she didn't sleep through the night. So we did like lavender for sleep, but we didn't do a ton. I wasn't going to experiment on my infant or my toddler. That's weird. So, and I was not that, I've had a few things, anxiety and some sleep. So we did that, but it's hard to be like, have a huge aha moment with like, unless you're in a full-on panic attack, which I wasn't. So I needed other people to have those experiences for me. And I did have some of my own too. So it took me about 2 months. And then by January, I was like, I think I can do this. So I jumped in, and I had my first class January 17th. It was a bitterly cold winter. So I started setting up. I had very few friends. Because I worked all the time, honestly, and I wasn't a super social person. And so my one good friend hosted a class for me, and a bunch of people came, and I actually enrolled like 3 or 4, maybe 5 people. And I was like, okay, all right. So then I was out of people to ask to host classes for me, because I didn't want to ask my family, because we have a different kind of relationship, and I didn't want them to feel like I was trying to get them to buy stuff. I was terrified of selling. So I jumped in, and I started doing a lot of public classes and stuff. So here I am. It's January. I'm working a very full-time job, usually around 50 hours a week, give or take, some travel, plus an infant, and a toddler-ish, 18. She was around 18 months, and I wanted to quit my job. I really, really, really wanted to quit my job. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So I'm just that kind of person that if you've done Emerge stuff at all, I'm a shotgun. I'm a total shotgun. So I had no plan, no skills. I had never sold anything except beer I waited tables. I was a bartender. That's all I'd ever sold. And I had no idea what I was doing. And I was afraid to ask my friends and family for anything, because except for my one good girlfriend that was a social butterfly, and she didn't mind hosting classes and parties and stuff. So she helped me out. So then I was faced with like, I would like to do this as a business. I want to quit my job, and I want to do it as fast as possible. So I just sort of threw myself into it. And that's probably going to be a little frustrating for some of you guys, because I don't have like a super solid plan. I just literally threw everything I could think of at the wall, and then see what actually worked out. So I started setting up public classes at like coffee shops, or my sister had a massage therapy studio, anywhere I could do it there was a library that would let us have it there. A lot of libraries won't. They did. And so I would set up public classes, and then I advertised. I made quarter flyers like you wouldn't believe. I made a crap ton of them that first year. I made quarter flyers, and I had little images. There was ones with oranges and one with lavender. So every month I would make different events, and I would try to change the flyer enough that I could hang multiple flyers on like the board at Starbucks, and people could see that they were different, so they didn't think it was all the same flyer for the same event. So I did that a ton, which is extremely painful. I will tell you, before you run off and be like, yeah, I'm going to do that. I will tell you, it's a very slow way to build, because if any of you have tried this, that so many events people don't come to, so many events. So, but I mean, I just kept doing it. I kept doing it. And then I looked on Facebook for people that I didn't know that well, that I was friends with, but there were people I never really hung out with. So I would look for people that, where it was like one of the first people I signed up were like the daughter, my stepdaughters had a lot of girlfriends, and they were in that like 5th, 6th, 7th grade age group. And so we saw their parents, and we would have fun, friendly conversations like, at drop-offs and pickups and, you know, hanging out, waiting for the girls to get ready for stuff. But we weren't like close friends. So, but I knew them enough that I respected them, and I knew that they respected me. And they had posted that they had health problems, like their son was having some serious asthma problems. And so I just messaged them and said, hey, you know, I know your son is really struggling with this. You know, I've been getting into these oils and they're pretty awesome. I'm really liking them. You know, would you want to sit down and talk a little bit about it, you know, and see if there's something that might help him? And they said yes. And then they had a coworker who they had told they were going to sit down with me, and she crashed that party. She crashed that event and showed up and was like, my dog is puking his guts out. I need help now. She signed up before they did. So it just, little things happen. It wasn't anything huge. It wasn't like I signed up 15 people, but just slowly, you know, things were happening. I was having success. So I was doing a lot of what felt like a lot of work, but having success along the way too. Some of the things that I think I did right was I talked about the business everywhere. I told everybody about the business, and I told them about how we have a different compensation plan and our reverse compensation plan, and that by partnering with each other, we can grow together, that we're not in competition with each other. I really emphasized a lot of that stuff. So because I was new and excited and on a mission, and I did a lot of public events, so I started having people coming to my public events, and they would come over and over and over again, and then they would share a little bit. So then my team started to grow beyond just me. And then I found one builder who really took off and signed up a ton of people. So my team grew really fast for a little while. And then I just kept doing it over and over and over again. And I tried to do the best I could to work with the people who showed up. And I built my business. Now that side of things, you guys are all probably pretty familiar with, right? This is the things that we do. The thing that comes into it is here I am still working that full-time job and having that baby and my kids and all that stuff. So how did I make that work? How did I make it work so that I could build? It took me about a year. I was ready to quit my job in a year. I had to wait because you can't just pull a hydrogeologist out of your hat. It takes a while to find one, especially to get one to move to Central Illinois. Most hydrogeologists live in big cities because that's where the work is. I got hugely blessed to be able to work in Peoria, Illinois. So we had to interview process happened over and over and over again. We thought we'd found somebody and then they'd get hired somewhere else, and we kept having to do it. So I didn't get to quit my job until probably February or March of the next year officially. So it took me a little over a year, but I could have quit. I hit gold in 12 months. So I built to gold rank in December. So how did I do that? So I really took advantage of small pockets of time. I can be a very productive person. I operate well under stress. So I can be very productive in small spaces of time. And that was true in my career, but I used it for doTERRA. So some of the things that I did was my husband had to leave for work by 7 a.m. every day. And he would take my daughter to daycare for me. So I would get up early, get myself ready, and he got himself ready, but help him get the baby ready. I would always breastfeed. I was breastfeeding. So he would literally take her out of my arms. I'd breastfeed her right before he'd take her, and they'd go out the door to leave. And then I would always try to make sure I was ready to go to work before that, so that at 7 o'clock when they left the house, I had 45 minutes because I didn't have to be at work until 8 o'clock. So from 7 a.m. to 7:45, I tried to be on my computer doing my job, doing my doTERRA. So I also took a huge advantage of lunch times. So my lunch times were not my own, unless I had to work. Sometimes I did because of deadlines and projects and stuff. But if I had lunch times, then I was doing doTERRA. So I would go out, and there was parks. I would go sit on benches or I tried not to do my business because people could hear me in my office. I tried not to do my business in the office. And so I took advantage of those small spaces of time that weren't competing with my family. I mean, none of my family was competing with me for lunch times, just my job was. And the same thing for that 7 a.m. to 7:45 thing. So those were the two big times. Obviously, I had to use evenings and some weekends for classes. There was no way around it. That was really hard. And I'll tell you, you guys already know your lives are very busy. And so the one thing that I wanted the most was to quit my job And the one thing I wanted the most, my why, was to be able to spend more time with my daughter, my child. I'm going to close my door because the TV for some reason is very loud. Hold on one second. Okay, I forgot for a second that I'm on a walker and I can't do anything fast. But anyway, it wasn't that long. So where was I? What was I saying?
Your why was your daughter, and that's why you wanted
Oh,
to, you know.
okay. So she's what I wanted. I desperately wanted to be with her. I physically wanted to be with her all the time. It was very painful for me to have to leave her at daycare. She spent 50 hours a week at daycare. And that was when our schedules were normal. So that was really, really hard for me. So I had to sacrifice the thing that I wanted the most, which was time with my kids, to go do doTERRA. And so that's something I think, I heard it said in the beginning, everybody has to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice something to get to that place that you want to go. You're like building a whole new life for yourself on the side. And so I was told you either have to sacrifice, there's three things we sacrifice: money, time, and something else. Sorry. I still have brain fog from the procedure. But anyway, my sacrifice, money wasn't that big of a deal. I made really good money, and I was making money with doTERRA. I didn't need that money. So I reinvested everything I made back into my business, everything. I made zero profit my first year on purpose, which was fun, actually. I recommend it. If you don't need the money, just reinvest everything. It's fun. You can take trips. I went out to Vegas with Romy, and LaTaryn was there. And that was all that first year, because I could do that because I didn't need the money. So I didn't mind sacrificing the money. I didn't need the money. Not that we were rolling in the dough, but we were comfortable. But what I had to sacrifice was my time with my kids and my family. And that was really hard. It tested my marriage, and I got judged. It definitely affected the perceptions of my family and the community around me. When you start telling people that you want to quit your job as a hydrogeologist to sell essential oils, you kind of get a little bit of backlash, turns out. So Toby's family was, they were kind of subtle about it, but, definitely got comments. I had a friend remember that friend of mine that had a baby across the street from me? She completely shut me out of her life. She was 100% against network marketing. And as soon as I got involved, as soon as I signed up, she started backing away. They actually moved away without even telling us, like 3 months. Not that they moved for us, but they didn't even tell us. They just literally, she wouldn't communicate with me. And then we saw the moving truck, and I was like, oh my God, are they, like, they're moving? Like, they moved. And she never has talked to me since. It's been over 5 years. She called me her sister. We were best friends. She let me borrow her shoes. We spent all our time together. Our babies hung out together. I mean, we sewed, we did hobbies and everything. She wrote me off and said, sent me a huge text message telling me that if I really cared about my family, that I say that I love my kids, but do I really, if I'm willing to sacrifice so much time being away from them? I mean, totally affected me. And I didn't realize how much that stuff affected me. I've actually had to work through some of that later on, that I kind of got stuck in my business. And some of it was that residual. I took some of that in without realizing it. But my first year, I was on such a mission of creating something different. And I really believed in doTERRA to be able to do that, and that I just had to let it go. So I did lose a friend along the way, and it was really interesting. So let's see, what else? I did do Diamond Club. So I got through the summer. I did find some people that were sharing with me. I did the best I could to lead them. I was not very good at it because I'm very good at throwing everything at the wall, but I don't necessarily know what you should be doing. I barely know what I should be doing. So that was some of my struggles, is like, people would say they want to do the business, and I'd just be like, you just kind of go do it. And so I did, that was hard to feel like I didn't know how to help people. So I just did a lot. I probably did way more than I should. If people even hinted that they wanted to do the business, I would start putting people under them. So none of my top line people, I will probably never get a $1,500 bonus because all of my leaders are down deep on my team because they came later. In the beginning, if anybody said they wanted to build, I just put people under them and ran with it. And I built 4 legs right off the bat. I went with 4 legs because you got to have 4 legs to hit diamond. So I need 4 legs. So we're having 4 legs. That was a huge mistake. Don't do that, you guys. Seriously, if you take nothing away from this conversation, do not build 4 legs at the same time. It is not good unless everybody's in charge of their own business. But if you're the main person doing most of the work, it's not a good idea. But you know, whatever, I just ran with it and did the best I could. And let's see, I got to silver in August. So I started in January. I got to premier pretty fast, I think, in the first couple of months. And then it took me a few months more, and I hit silver in August. I went to convention, and I started Diamond Club. So I went part-time in my corporate job in August, and I had built up enough income that we could kind of survive. Not exactly. I put a lot of financial pressure on us a little bit early because I was in such a hurry. And I did Diamond Club, which you got to have kind of some money to do Diamond Club because you do have to travel. And even though they do reimburse some of it, you still have to spend money. And so I did put myself our family under some financial strain that fall because I just figured I got to go all in, right? So I started Diamond Club in August, and I'm pretty proud of how I handled Diamond Club. I focused just on my team. I didn't worry about winning any prizes. I didn't worry about competing. If I could help out another team, I would, but I wasn't going to make special trips just to try to increase my rank and standings. If you guys don't know Diamond Club, it's a travel program, and you can win prizes. And so people are tempted to try to win the grand prizes by enrolling people through their Diamond Club thing to earn extra points, which is totally cool. I just couldn't. I was under so much pressure. I just couldn't handle that. So I just focused on my team. And I made my bare minimum of enrollments every month, but it was always through my own team and my own people, which was cool. And so I hit silver in August, and Diamond Club, I didn't rank super fast through Diamond Club. I know some people do that, but it did build my foundation. So I traveled, I did my requirements. It got me to do things that I normally wouldn't do. Like you have to travel out of area a couple of times a month. And so I had some months I had no problem with my out of area, especially the first 2 months, because it's all new and exciting. But then as you go deeper into it and you get more tired and people they're not as excited anymore. And so I started having a little bit of trouble with out of area events. And I also had a couple of experiences where I flew places and then nobody came to the classes after I'd flown there and rented a car and stayed in hotels and things like that, which was very discouraging and expensive. So then I started trying to do things a little differently. So it got me, I just went on the map. Fun idea for you if you're really desperate. I looked for a city that was outside of 70 miles, I think was the requirement back then. And I just picked a city and I drove to it. I made folders up with information in them, like informational packets and some samples. And then I drove to that town and I just drove around that town looking for any businesses that maybe would be into health and wellness. And then I went in and I talked to the receptionist and said, hey, would you, I see that you're a health and wellness business. And I teach about essential oils and I teach a lot of classes. I'm looking to teach some classes in this area. And I think it might be something that would benefit your clients. I always focus on the clients, not the people. If you go in there saying, I want to get you involved and I want to teach you about oils, like immediately that's going to send off there like they have enough stuff to do. They don't know you, they don't know oils. But I always came out of how can I think this would really help your clients if it's something that you're not familiar with that. And so I did get some enrollments that way. I signed up a massage therapy studio and have a little team there. It's never turned into anything gangbusters, but that was cool. That was amazing for Diamond Club. And it helped me keep me going and it was awesome. And I still have that little team down there. So I did things like that just to, sometimes if you don't have stuff on your calendar, you just have to take some action to get it done. And I always felt like I was more comfortable calling strangers than I was calling my close friends and family, because that's my family dynamics. I just didn't feel comfortable with that. So I called strangers. I did a lot of cold calling. Remember I told you I did all those like 7 to 7:45 a.m. and those lunch breaks? I would go and pick cities from anywhere, really. And I would pick a city and I would go on the internet and I'd research that city and make a list of all the health and wellness businesses. And then I would go to each website and research like who owned it. Was it locally owned? Was it a franchise? Who do they mention oils anywhere on their website? Do they who's in charge? Like if it's a bigger place, like and they had like a massage, like maybe it's a spa and they have a massage area. Who's the massage therapist? Did they mention anything about oils on their bios? I just collected any information that I could, and then I would take really detailed notes on it. I'd have pages and pages of the notes, and then I would have their phone numbers, and I would go through the list, and I would call, and then I would take notes on anything they told me. And I would spend a whole lunch hour just sitting there making phone calls. So the thing about cold calling is, what do they say? Like, what do they say? They say, I don't know if I remember the exact details, but it's like some huge number are not even going to respond to you in any way. A small number, maybe like 20% will even talk to you. And then of that 20%, like 1 or 2% will actually like engage with you. So I knew that going in. I knew it wasn't going to be like every person was going to be like, oh yeah, we'd love to learn about oils. So I just knew that. And I was just doing it because I needed people to talk to about oils. And this is what I had to do to hit the end goal. So I was going to do it. So I made those phone calls, and I did sign people up that way. I signed up a massage therapist. It was really funny, actually. I signed up a massage therapist in Montana, and I actually was calling a massage therapist in Peoria, which is a town over from where I lived. But then when I looked her up on the internet, the name of her business in Montana was exactly the same as this massage therapist's office in Peoria. So I called the number thinking that it was the Peoria massage therapist, and instead it was a massage therapist in Montana, in the middle of nowhere in Montana. And so we struck up a conversation, and we had a great conversation, and it turns out she's interested in oils, and she signed up, and she's the one that I flew out and taught some classes for Diamond Club. Totally crazy. That happened early in the year, and I went that fall and taught some classes for her. So, I mean, those are the things that I did to make it happen. So it was a nice big mess of chaos, perseverance, a willingness to completely put myself out there to strangers. and I didn't ever rest. I mean, when I look back on it, really, actually, I'm kind of inspiring myself. When I went to Montana, I went there, and this poor girl didn't know. She made a Facebook post, not an event, a Facebook post, and posted that she was going to have some oil classes, and like 37 people liked the post. So when I talked to her, she told me I'm going to have 37 people there. So I packed an entire suitcase. I didn't even take clothes with me except the pair I was wearing and an extra in my backpack. My suitcase was packed with enrollment forms and wild orange bottles and books and all the stuff that you need to teach, because I'm at 37 freaking people there. I got to have like all the supplies. I couldn't even lift the dang suitcase on the airplane. A man had to lift it and put it up in the thing for me. It was so heavy. But I got all the way out there, and she had 2 different classes, and she had no one come to the first one, and one person stopped by for 5 minutes to buy a bottle of like peppermint or something that she already knew, and left right away. And that was both classes. So I just trained. I just said, oh, that's okay. We'll do training. And I walked her through, sharing oils, and it was great to spend some time with her. She lived in freaking Montana. How else was I going to go see her? So we did some training. And then I did the 90-mile drive back to Billings, Montana. No, it wasn't Billings. It was, oh gosh, I'm not going to think of it. The city where I flew in and out of. Missoula, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, so I went back there. Well, I had scheduled a public class at a coffee shop, because that's what I do, right? When I planned it, I scheduled a class in a public coffee shop. No one came to that, by the way. And then I was really discouraged. I don't want you guys to think that I was like so awesome and like in a great frame of mind and it's all good. I'm just shooting from the hip. I was seriously like tail between the legs. This is the worst day. I mean, I couldn't even talk. I was literally like, went back to the hotel room, cried, I paid for the hotel room for 3 days. It's nowhere, Montana. You can't just fly in and out. You have to stay for 3 days. The next flight that leaves is 3 days later. So I had to stay there. So I had a whole day with nothing to do. So what I did, because for me, when I am discouraged, the only thing that makes me feel better is taking action. If I don't take action, I can't stand it. I can't stand how I feel when I feel like that. So I will do anything to take action to make me feel, because I know that if I take action, something will happen that will make me feel better. Something. Even if it's somebody bought me a bottle of lavender from me or one thing, I feel like, okay, good, something happened. So every time I ever felt discouraged, which I had happened plenty of times, trust me, I would call my upline, and this happened a lot, especially the first few months. My first monthly paycheck was $11, $11, and I was making probably about 80,000 a year at my corporate job. So I call my upline and I'm like, okay, I need you to tell me one more time that people make real money at this. Because if I'm going to be out here doing this and I just got an $11 paycheck, like that's a problem. You know, this, you got to tell me. So the second month, it was $65. So every month for a while, I was calling Tracy Kennebecker Lynn as like, I need you to tell me that you're making real money. Seriously, like what exactly is your paycheck right now? Because I need to know that this is going to happen. So I did a lot of stuff like that. So I don't want you to feel like I was like, oh, miss on top of things. I had a ton of doubt and fear, a ton of being discouraged, tons of time feeling like I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I taught classes as a scientist, not as a salesperson. So I would teach these classes. I went out to my best friend out west, where I lived in Wyoming for 8 years. So I flew out there with Tracy doing Diamond Club, and we did a class out there. And my best friend came and I taught one. And I asked her after the class, I'm like, I'm really nervous, Tara. What did you think about my class? You know, do I look stupid up there? And she's like, no, not at all. She's like, you did a great job. I learned a lot. She's like, you know, it's really interesting. I wouldn't have even realized you were selling anything. She's like, you just taught this amazing class. And then at the end, you were just like, by the way, you can buy someone else over here at some starter kits if you want to. Like, like just, and then, you know, it's like awkward that people might want to buy something, you know? So that was a realization for me. I was a big over teacher. Like I over taught my classes way too much. They go for like sometimes 2 hours. Oh God. Can you believe that? It's insane. I don't know. People liked it though. I say people, I'm like doing Essential Oil University over here. People come back over and over again. But anyway, these are the things we do, right? Until we learn. And I realized, you know, anyway, I learned a lot of things. So I guess that's the gist of it. So that's what happened. And I hit gold in December. I did Diamond Club. I finished Diamond Club. Didn't place at all. I don't know what place I was. I know it was low down, but I finished and I did it with my own team. And I did it in a way that I felt really good about it. So that was enough. And I hit gold in December and quit my job early that next year. So I'll open it up for questions to see if you guys, if we got anything good out of that. Yay.
Oh my gosh, I loved it. I love how real and raw you are, because seriously, this is work. You know, if you're going to do this, if you're going to make it, like get your gear on, because you're going to be hiking that mountain and you're really going to be doing it alone. Even if you are supported, even if you have amazing upline, like it's one step at a time the whole way. I love it. This was fantastic. Come on, guys. I know you have questions. Feel free to unmute and ask. We have a couple of Diamond Clubbers on here right now. Fire your questions away, guys. Oh, wow. Nobody has a question?
I blew them away.
Joyce, I loved it. I've heard some of your story, but not all of it. And I am amazed that you could stick with it and come out looking as, I mean, look at what you are now. And it gives me hope that, yes, it will work. I will get there eventually. So thank you.
You're welcome. You can do it. I think it's really intense. I did quit my job. It's been about 3.5 years now. I've been job free, and I can tell you guys, it is worth every second of it. Fight for your life. I tell people, I was really fighting for my daughter, but I tell people I fought for my business the way a mama bear fights for their cub. Like, because I was fighting for my cub. It's just, I had to do doTERRA to get there. But, you know, we were able to put her in private school. We were able to, you know, we're able to buy organic food that we want to do. I mean, I'm not rolling in the dough or anything. I'm a slow grower and a baby diamond, but we have done it, and we, you know, I feel really blessed in that. So anytime I have any doubts, I'm always like, you know, you could have been going back to that corporate job. Sometimes I go back and visit them, and I feel like I'm visiting people in prison. They're still doing the same projects, writing the same reports, doing the exact same work, and I would still be in it and doing all that stuff. It's just crazy. So I'm super blessed. It is worth it, guys. Fight for it. You got to fight for it, though. It's not going to just happen.
So true. I love that. Anybody else have any questions for Joyce while we have her?
I don't have a question, but I have just a comment. Thank you, Joyce. I enjoyed that very much. I just love how you mentioned, like, you started 4 legs and you had all these things wrong, and, you know, right, you have all these reasons why you shouldn't be successful and excuses that we can so easily fall into letting control our action, but you didn't do that. And so I think that's very powerful and awesome, and very encouraging for me to just, you know, continue to take those daily actions hour by hour, minute by minute, and not let those excuses and any negative thoughts be what control us, but just continue to go step by step. So thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Plus, we love you.
Oh, I love you guys too. And I will say, guys, you're going to have the doubts and the fears and the negativity and the periods of, I call it doTERRA depression. It's going to happen. And so when it does happen, we re-inspire each other. I mean, that was an amazing story, right? It's like happily ever after. I rode off into the sunset, right? No. The story continues. I stayed gold for 2 years, and I had a lot of lessons to learn there. And I went through periods of doTERRA depression and struggle. And so if you find yourself in that place, or if you're just freaking tired and you feel like you're doing it alone and you had yet another builder quit or somebody sign up with somebody else, like, that stuff's all par for the course. It's gonna happen. And so you've got to figure out what is gonna make you feel better and get you back to taking action again. For me, when I get in those discouraged places, I have to take action. It's the only thing that's going to get me out of it, because I need signs of life. I need signs of good things happening to overcome. It needs to be a physical thing. I can't just think my way out of a bad spot. I have to take action to get out of that bad spot. So that's one thing. The second thing is, go to your upline or find other people in the group that are active and doing stuff, and get inspired by them. And Crystal and Neil are a fantastic example of that. Their talk last week and re-inspired me, you know, and just call them up. I called Romy up and she took my calls, God bless her. And I cried about wanting to quit my job. And she'd wanted to quit her job. And I think she said it took her like 4 years to quit her job. So, you know, I was really lucky that I was able to do it a little bit quicker, but she could relate. She knew what I was going through, and she knew that desperation of, I just wanted it to be different. So, and you can also but you got to work with people that are in the trenches with you. So find those leaders and find people that are taking action, and make cross-line friends so that you can call them up and be like, you will not believe what just happened to me. I could tell you guys so many stories of that first year of the insanity that happened. I mean, so many things. So you got to be able to call people up that know what you're going through, that are working hard for a goal too, that you can high five and then cry on and complain. You really need that. Is non-negotiable for me. I've made a lot of doTERRA friends and I look to you guys, even when we don't talk. I mean, all of you, we've all been in this. So many of us have been in this for a long time together. So even when I just see you guys posting in the group and know that you're out there, I get really lifted up and inspired by that. So that's what works for me. You got to figure out what's going to help me to get re-inspired and back on taking action. Taking action is so important. So Melissa's got a question here. I want more time with my kids. I'm okay with giving everything for a period if I know it's worth it. I'm going to read it right. My mic isn't working, but I have a question. I'm doing doTERRA for the same reason. I want more time with my kids. I'm okay with giving everything for a period if I know it's worth it in the end. Once you hit diamond, how much time do you spend on doTERRA? That's a great question, Melissa. And it's one that I have to clarify with people a lot because I have misled my team a little bit because I am an extremely driven person. And you have to realize that some diamonds are. So I am never going to be the person that contentedly just works a few hours a week and then casually hangs out. I just am not wired that way. I don't like to watch TV. I don't like to, I mean, if I have free time, I fill it. I do hobbies, I go exercise, I go walking, I go hiking, I do something. So I started a kind of a second business. I have a website called Grow Your Green Lifestyle, and I'm into public speaking, and I have a lot of creativity, and I want to write a book, and I have all these other things I want to do. So I try to clarify that with my team a lot because they look at me and say, oh, Joyce, I've had people straight out tell me, I don't want to do what you do. You run around like a crazy person. Well, I don't run around like a crazy person with doTERRA. I could contentedly hang out and do doTERRA probably 20 hours a week and be totally fine. I mean, and that's me actively working at it, right? I mean, just because I'm diamond doesn't mean I can just hang out now and throw my feet up and everybody works and I just have the money roll in. Diamond, they say, is one of the hardest ranks because you're not in that comfort zone. You've got to keep working and keep bringing up your builders beneath you. And so I'm not just hanging out relaxing. I'm still actively engaging. My goal is to get to blue diamond, and that'll probably take us a while, who knows, but I am not relaxing. So I could just hang out and do 20 hours a week with just doTERRA if I was doing nothing else and still be active. I'm sure there'd be weeks where you do more and there's weeks where you do less. But I could do that as a diamond. It just depends on what your goals are and how much income you're looking to make and what do you want to do. I'm fine with our income, but there's things that I want to do in the world. There's impact that I want to make. And so I'm not going for blue diamond for me. I'm going for blue diamond so that I've got money to do the things that I want to do to give back. So if your goal is to spend a ton of time with your family and just have quality family time, and you can do that on, whatever income, then you can create your own schedule. You can do what you want to do. I'm glad I got to hear your story. I'm brand new. Oh, somebody's talking about how they just feel really scared about talking about the business. Yeah, Julie, that's totally normal. It's okay to be scared. I was totally scared too. Everybody's scared. Nobody's not scared. And the only way to get through that is to practice. So this is another tip, actually, where you guys are triggering my memory here. I wasn't very good at talking about things in the beginning. I could not say certified pure therapeutic grade out loud to save my life. I just couldn't do it. I stumbled on it every time. And you're trying to look respectable and educated up in front of these people. And I'm like, CPTG, I couldn't get it right. I can say it now. I can't even pretend to fumble it now because I could say it in my sleep. But so what I did was I would drive around, and while I was driving for work, I would practice saying things, or I would pretend like if someone was going to ask me a question, how would I answer it? So I would come up with imaginary questions for myself and answer them out loud in my car. Yes, I am that weirdo that drives around talking to myself in my car. And I would say, certified pure therapeutic grade, certified pure therapeutic grade, certified pure therapeutic grade. What does that mean? Well, that means certified pure therapeutic grade means that we source our oils from their independent environment. I just try to I had to say it out loud. You've got to be able to say these things. So just tell yourself. You'll still feel like an idiot, but you're an idiot by yourself instead of an idiot in front of other people.
Well, thank you.
Yes. So you can do it, girl. Just got to do it. It's going to like taking off the Band-Aid.
Well, I'm trying with my friend Dana's help.
Hang in there. And it's okay. It's not a race. Don't compare yourself to other people because, some people, I tell this to my leaders a lot, don't compare yourself because some people come into this business with skill sets that make them be able to do it really fast and what appears to be easy. It's never easy for anybody. These people are working their butts off, but maybe they have an amazing network, or maybe they already have an existing business where they have a steady flow of clients, or maybe they were, whatever, they had something going for them. Maybe the gal that I had signed up, got on my team originally, who enrolled a ton of people for like a year. she had a huge network and was really well respected. She'd been in her church forever. She's in the St. Jude community here in the Midwest. So when she talked about oils, man, people listened, and she signed up like 15 people a month. But once she ran out of that warm market, she always said, I'm not going to go out and find people to talk to. If they keep coming to me, I'll keep signing them up. But once that happens, she had a son with a brain tumor. So she wasn't going to go out and do the crazy stuff I was doing to find people to talk to, because it wasn't her thing. So just realize they had something already going for them. That doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means you've got to set up that stuff for yourself, and then you're going to have the same success. So if that's helpful at all.
So helpful. Thank you so much. We are almost on the hour, y'all. Does anyone else have one more question they want to throw out?
The last thing I'll say is go to corporate events. I have a broken leg and I am going to leadership.
Heck yeah.
And there's nothing stopping me from going, because coming off Christmas and January, and it's been a slow couple of months. It's easy to feel discouraged. I think a lot of people are feeling a little bit discouraged right now, and I know I'm feeling it. So it's like run as fast as you can to leadership or to convention and get your cup filled up so you're excited so you can keep moving forward. Those things should be non-negotiables. You go to leadership and you go to convention, and you go to corporate events so that you can be around other people who are going for it like you are. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And oh, sorry.
We missed leadership, I think, last year, and we will never miss another one.
Yeah.
Ever again.
Yeah.
And same with like the galas and stuff at convention. We didn't go to the gala last year, and that won't ever happen again.
Not this year, that's for sure.
Heck no.
It's awesome. They did already announce. They told us we're going to have new products at convention. We're going to have new information on our healthcare and what's going to be happening in that realm. They've announced that they're going to be offering incentives to people who are willing to help. I don't know what that means, but compensation for people who are willing to get in the trenches and help with whatever this healthcare thing is. They're going to be talking to us about at convention. So get ready. All right, I'm going to stop the recording. Joyce, thank you so much.